When you create a role, it's awfully tough for somebody to go in there and try to recreate it because they are used to seeing it a certain way with certain kinds of looks and your particular personality, good or bad, evil or pleasant. It's difficult.
Yeah. You acted with Marilyn Monroe.
Yes.
Rory Calhoun, a charismatic leading man, built a thriving career in film and television that lasted over 5 decades. He gained fame by playing heroic roles in B-westerns and became a familiar face in the genre. Throughout his distinguished career, Calhoun appeared in over 80 films and starred in more than 10 television episodes. But did you know about Rory Calhoun's extraordinary journey from prison to Hollywood? If not, you're in the right place. Today we will discuss Rory Calhoun's life and the 5 actors he hated the most. But before we begin, if you're a fan of Rory Calhoun or love old Western movies, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We share amazing stories about Western stars and classic Hollywood icons. Rory Calhoun, originally named Francis Timothy McCow, came into the world on August 8th, 1922, in Los Angeles. Life didn't hand him anything on a silver platter. Growing up in the middle of the Great Depression, he watched his parents, Francis Sr. and Elizabeth, struggle just to put food on the table. The weight of poverty rested on his young shoulders, shaping him far earlier than most. But instead of dragging him down, those early hardships built the kind of steel inside him. His upbringing taught him not only the meaning of hard work, but also that no dream was too far to chase, even if the path to it was rocky. But Rory wasn't exactly the picture of innocence. In his teenage years, he took a wrong turn and ended up in serious trouble. He was caught stealing cars and sent to a federal reformatory in Oklahoma, where he served 3 years. Even then, though, something inside him was changing. Acting began to stir something in him, a sense of purpose, an escape, and after his release, destiny threw him an unexpected lifeline. After his release, Rory drifted through a series of rough jobs: mechanic, miner, logger, fisherman, anything that paid. But everything changed when he crossed paths with a kind-hearted priest, Reverend Donald Connelly. This man gave Rory the guidance and sense of worth he never had growing up. Rory credited Connelly with saving his life, and he carried that lesson with him forever. In 1943, while working in Hollywood, he crossed paths with Alan Ladd, a major film star at the time. With a casual, almost offhand suggestion, "Ever think about being in movies?" Ladd unknowingly changed Rory's life. That brief moment led to a screen test, a studio contract, and a brand new name, Rory Calhoun. Soon enough, he became one of the biggest cowboy stars of the 1950s. With slick dark hair, magnetic eyes, and a rough around the edges appeal, Rory quickly won over audiences. His mysterious charm earned him the nickname Smokey, and he became a favorite in westerns that matched his own complicated past. Rory Calhoun's journey to Hollywood wasn't scripted. It was wild, raw, and deeply human. He made his screen debut in 1944 with a small appearance in the musical Something for the Boys, starring Carmen Miranda. Over the next few years, he slowly carved out a place for himself in Hollywood, taking on minor roles until his talent and charm could no longer be ignored. From 1949 to 1990, he appeared in nearly 30 films and TV westerns. He didn't just act, he also co-wrote one film, produced 3 others, and proudly co-produced the hit series The Texan, where he also played the lead. With his tall frame, rugged face, and natural cowboy presence, Rory became the very image of a Western hero. Whether playing a gunslinger or a reformed outlaw, he brought both toughness and charisma to the screen. While not every project was a blockbuster, Rory's performances often stood out. He might not have reached the legendary heights of Gary Cooper or James Stewart, but he held his own among peers like Sterling Hayden and George Montgomery. Many believed he was the best of those, just below the top tier. His work spanned popular titles like Miraculous Journey, Adventure Island, A Song in My Heart, Red Sundown, and even TV favorites like Gilligan's Island and How to Marry a Millionaire. The characters he played, gritty, wounded, yet bold, felt like extensions of the man himself. But Rory's life off-screen was often more dramatic than anything he ever did on film. His personal affairs made headlines across the country. When his marriage unraveled, the divorce papers named 79 alleged affairs, one of which involved the iconic Betty Grable. Though his movies were often modestly budgeted, his real-life scandals were blockbuster material, making him a favorite in the gossip pages. Still, beneath the layers of drama and fame, Rory Calhoun was a survivor. He wasn't just playing cowboys, he was living the part. From his troubled youth to his rise in Hollywood, his journey was all about grit, reinvention, and defying the odds. Like the heroes he portrayed, Rory rode through every storm, never backing down, always moving forward, and he left behind a legacy as rugged and unforgettable as the Wild West itself. From the rough streets of Santa Cruz to the sound stages of Hollywood, Rory's story was one of survival, transformation, and reinvention. He may have started as an outlaw, but he ended as a legend. Rory Calhoun wasn't just a Hollywood cowboy. He was a man who lived life on his terms, with a wild past and a bold attitude. Known for his rugged looks and roles in westerns, Rory didn't play by the rules in real life either. And while many stars in Hollywood stayed quiet about their rivalries, Rory was never afraid to speak his mind. Over the years, there were a few actors he openly disliked, and today we're revealing the 5 stars Rory Calhoun reportedly hated the most, along with the reasons why. Number 1, Tab Hunter. Tab Hunter was the clean-cut teen idol of the 1950s. But to Rory, he was nothing more than a product of studio packaging. Calhoun, who came up the hard way, believed in earning success. He once said, "Looks can only take you so far, but in this town they take some people all the way." Rory resented how the studios pushed Hunter into the spotlight, even when others were more talented but overlooked. Number 2, Rock Hudson. Though both were tall, handsome leading men, Rory had a problem with Rock Hudson's attitude. He found him cold, distant, and too polished. Rory preferred raw, gritty acting, while Rock represented the safe studio image. Rory once remarked that Rock never took risks and was too worried about staying perfect on camera. The lack of humility rubbed Rory the wrong way. Number 3, Robert Taylor. Rory Calhoun worked with Robert Taylor and quickly developed a dislike for him. He thought Taylor treated the crew poorly and acted like he was above everyone else. Rory didn't appreciate actors who thought fame made them royalty. The two reportedly had heated exchanges on set, and Rory walked away from the experience with nothing but contempt for Taylor's arrogance and entitlement. Number 4, Tony Curtis. Rory believed Tony Curtis was more obsessed with his own reflection than the characters he played. Curtis loved the spotlight, and to Calhoun, that made him come off as shallow. Rory once joked Tony could probably kiss himself in the mirror for hours. He disliked how Curtis was always talking about fame and success rather than the work itself. It clashed with Rory's belief in staying grounded and authentic. Number 5, Montgomery Clift. Interestingly, Rory didn't hate Montgomery Clift for personal reasons, but rather because of how critics and the public constantly compared them. Clift was the sensitive method actor, while Rory was a tough all-American type. The comparison made Rory feel like he wasn't taken seriously as an actor. Over time, it built into a quiet resentment. He admired Clift's talent, but hated being seen as second best. Rory Calhoun may have worn a cowboy hat on screen, but off-screen, he was anything but quiet. His honesty about the people he disliked gave us a rare glimpse into the real drama behind the Hollywood spotlight. Rory Calhoun's journey through Hollywood was anything but smooth. In 1945, his rebellious streak landed him in hot water after he punched a detective, sending him back behind bars. Once out, he was passed around from one producer to another like a hot property. Although 20th Century Fox signed him, he frustratingly sat on the sidelines for nearly 7 years without a single role. He later quipped that it was like being on an unpaid vacation. Despite the slow start, Rory carved out a niche for himself in westerns. By the 1950s, he had begun to gain traction with roles in films like A Ticket to Tomahawk, which featured a then-rising star, Marilyn Monroe. His name continued to grow with appearances in The Silver Whip and several other films that highlighted his rugged charm and range. The 1960s marked Rory's golden era. He became a familiar face on American television, taking roles in beloved shows like Death Valley Days, Bonanza, Gunsmoke, and even Gilligan's Island. His consistent work through the 70s secured his place as a true legend of classic entertainment. But behind the fame was a life filled with fiery romance and scandal. In 1947, Rory entered a whirlwind relationship with French actress Corinne Calvet. Their chemistry was instant and intense. Calvet later described their affair as electric, but the sparks often turned destructive. When Calvet briefly dated powerful mogul Harry Cohn, she returned home to find her place in ruins allegedly destroyed by a furious Rory. The drama didn't stop there. One night, Rory asked her to marry him, only to disappear hours later to spend the evening with his mentor, Henry Wilson. When confronted, Rory reportedly reacted in a rage and even fired a gun at her, an incident that left a dark mark on their already volatile relationship. Wilson, one of Hollywood's most influential agents at the time, was known for managing some of the industry's most photogenic male stars, like Rock Hudson and Guy Madison. Behind the glitz, however, Wilson was surrounded by controversy. His private life, especially his use of the infamous casting couch, was an open secret. As whispers about his methods grew louder, rising stars began to steer clear of him, fearing that being associated with him might cast shadows on their careers. There was a time in Hollywood when one secret had the power to shatter careers, and that secret nearly brought down one of its biggest stars, Rock Hudson. In the 1950s, Hudson was the epitome of the all-American leading man, but behind the scenes he was hiding a truth that the industry wasn't ready to face. His sexuality, if revealed, would have ended his career overnight. And in 1955, that truth came dangerously close to becoming headline news. The threat came from Robert Harrison, the cunning editor of Confidential, a tabloid infamous for unearthing celebrity scandals. When Harrison caught wind of Hudson's private life, it set off alarm bells for Henry Wilson, Hudson's powerful agent. Wilson had built his empire by crafting tough, macho screen personas for young actors, and Rock was his crown jewel. To save Hudson's image, Wilson made a desperate gamble. He struck a secret deal with Harrison, silence about Rock in exchange for another scoop. The price? He handed over another client, Rory Calhoun. The tabloid exposed Calhoun's buried past, revealing that he had spent time in federal prison as a teenager. Surprisingly, this revelation didn't destroy Calhoun, it launched him. The public was fascinated. Instead of shame, the story gave him an edge. He was suddenly Hollywood's rebellious heartthrob, the kind of outlaw women swooned over and men envied. But Harrison had secured more than just a hot story. He had leverage. The deal kept Wilson in check, along with every closeted star in his circle. Behind the scenes, things got even stranger. Actress Yvonne De Carlo recalled one peculiar studio-arranged double date involving Calhoun, Wilson, and another actress. Though the date was staged for the cameras, once the photos were snapped, Calhoun and Wilson ignored their female companions entirely, lost in their own private conversation. Confused, DeCarlo joked to the other woman, "Do you know what's going on?" The reply, "Looks like I'm your date tonight." The incident was just a small glimpse into a larger, murkier world, one filled with hidden loyalties, silent trades, and buried truths. In that golden age of Hollywood, reputations were fragile, secrets were currency, and sometimes saving one career meant sacrificing another. Rory Calhoun's rise to fame started when he landed the role of boxer Jim Corbett in The Great John L., a movie that spotlighted the legendary John L. Sullivan and was backed by Bing Crosby. This performance not only showed off Calhoun's strong build and athletic talent, but also opened the doors to Hollywood stardom. When MGM was casting for That Hagen Girl, producers pushed for Calhoun to play Shirley Temple's charming young admirer, though her character ultimately chooses Ronald Reagan in the end. In 1948, Rory's life took a personal turn when he married Mexican singer Lita Barron, whom he met during her nightclub act at Macambo. Their wedding signaled a brief period of stability in his otherwise adventurous life. Around this time, Calhoun took on various roles in B-movies through studio loans, acting alongside stars like Rhonda Fleming in Adventure Island and Guy Madison in Massacre River. Eventually, he landed a fresh deal with 20th Century Fox and became a familiar face in major productions. He shared the screen with big names like Susan Hayward in I'd Climb the Highest Mountain, and with A Song in My Heart, and with Betty Grable in Meet Me After the Show and How to Marry a Millionaire. By 1958, Calhoun took a bold step into producing, forming his own company, and headlining the Western Apache Territory. Although the movie didn't hit the mark, he bounced back quickly with a move to television in The Texan, where he played a fast-drawing cowboy wandering through the Wild West, helping strangers and getting into the occasional gunfight or romance. His final curtain call came years later, in 1992, with a small part in Pure Country, a country music romance. Time had taken its toll. He looked frail and aged, his features altered by years of chain smoking. Yet his piercing eyes still carried the spark of the daring, rough-edged star Hollywood once knew all too well. Rory Calhoun might not have been the most famous name on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but for die-hard Western fans, he stood tall among the genre's legends. During the golden era of the 1950s, he carved out a space for himself with rugged charm and undeniable screen presence. He may not have headlined blockbuster hits like some of his peers, but his performances captured the raw spirit of frontier life, and that's what made him unforgettable. His story came to a close in 1999 when he passed away at 76, leaving behind a trail of dust and unforgettable memories. While his name might not echo as loudly as others to those who cherish old-school westerns, Rory Calhoun remains a true cowboy at heart, a name that still rides strong in the memories of loyal fans.